before I found out about that lake, there was only one other lake that I used to go try my luck at fishing rainbow trout.
Star Lake.
Star Lake and Lions Lake, which is about 90 miles east on the number 101. That's towards Kenora. And it's a nice place for picnicking and campgrounds, Falcon Lake campgrounds, beautiful beach and everything. I used to take my kids down there quite a bit. And my little guy over here, Patrick, he caught a rainbow trout down there one time, and I thought it was quite nice. He didn't want to eat it. It was a nice sized rainbow, around 8-9 inches, and I wanted to cook it for him. He didn't want to do that at all. He said no, but he wouldn't let me even touch that trout. He took that trout and he went all over the campground showing everybody there, look, I caught this. My dad took me to a place and I caught this rainbow trout, eh? And would you believe, Patrick was only about 6 years old, and I still got that trout in the freezer. In fact, I got it right here. I'll show it to you. And he was determined. He wouldn't eat it. He was determined to get this trout mounted. And there it is there, and it's all getting dehydrated and everything, but it's getting pretty light. It feels quite light. It almost feels like it's made of balsa wood or something. But it's a rainbow, and he's still proud of it, and I might get it mounted for him one of these days. In fact, I am going to. And those guys that mount these fish, they can do wonders for them. They can make them look just like brand new. But we always used to go down to Lions Lake fishing for these trout. And yeah, we never had much real good luck. Last summer we went down there again, and last summer I had my boys out fishing more than I had ever had them out fishing. Almost every second day we went fishing in the summertime, and they caught lots of perch and stuff. And Patrick, he got a real bad bite or something, or he got into poison ivy or poison oak or something. And we had to take him to the doctor. He had sores all over him and everything else, but we didn't catch no rainbow trout. So Uncle George up in the Paw, he was talking to me on the phone one day, and he said, come on up. It was summer holidays, the end of June, and the kids out of school. So I said, yeah, okay, I'm coming up. I hadn't been up there for a long, long time. I'm going to come up. So I went up there, and my goodness, they opened up this lake, Chocolate Lake. Remember we asked George, we said, where does a person go fishing rainbow trout?
Well, they had Barbie Lake, Long Lake.
Yeah, and Uncle George said, well, you can always go to Barbie Lake or Long Lake or any of those lakes. And he said there's another lake that they just opened up called Chocolate Lake, and he said he hadn't been into it yet. Remember that?
Yeah.
I said, well, that's the one I'd like to go check out, eh? So lo and behold, a couple of days after that, we finally were on our way up to that Chocolate Lake. First we had to find it.
It was a windy day.
It was a windy day, and yeah, it was quite windy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And this lake is 40 miles north of the Paw, and then you got to go west about 20 miles on a dirt road. And George had never been in there, and neither had I, but he heard about it, so we headed up there. And I'll tell you, we got up there and we got into the lake. We found the lake. It was really windy that day. The lake was real choppy. And we got in there, and there was only one place where you could fish, and that was right where you launched the boats. They had a place where you could launch a boat. That was about it. There was no other place, just that one place you could launch a boat, but there was nobody in there but us. So that's where I said, okay, Patrick and Billy and Chris. And George says, well, he said, I'll tell you one thing. He said, I see a real good spot down the lake a little ways there, and that's where I want to fish. So he said, I'm going to go walking through the woods, and I'm going to go down there and try to fish out of that deep hole there. But would you believe the mosquitoes were so bad and so thick? I thought to myself, I'll wish you luck there, Uncle. You go and do it. So I stayed right where I was, right there where you launched the boat. We all cast the rods out. We put real minnows on and a bobber.
With a deadhead.
Yeah, and we use these things. Look in this tackle box here. Bobbers. They keep lead heads. We had what they call lead heads, a piece of lead with a hook on it, and you put a minnow on it, and then we put a bobber to hold that just above the water a little bit, when you cast those out. Well, I couldn't believe it. The first 10 minutes just fit a trout were biting. Beautiful rainbows like you wouldn't believe. And the first one, I caught the first one, and I brought it in, and it was, I got a Master Angler Award for it.
18 inches.
18 inches, yeah. And
then I was reeling in Patrick's rod because his bobber was facing the wrong way because the red was on the bottom and the white was on top. So I was going to reel it in to put the red on the bottom because the fish was supposed to be scared because my dad told me about the fish being scared of the light and shit like that.
Fish were real scared.
So I was reeling in his rod at the time, and then all of a sudden I got this big bite, and then I was walking up on back to the shore with the fish on the line, and then like my brother claimed it was his, but I just got the bite at the same time. So
but those
he said it was mine, so
but
he was pretty mad at me.
Well, these trout that we're talking about, like, I couldn't believe it. Like, they run around this size here, eh?
18, 20 inches.
Yeah. There's the kind of trout we were catching up there talking about. I never saw anything, well, a couple inches smaller than this. But
the minks, that kind of.
It was unbelievable how good these fish were. So this is the kind of a lake we're in. This one here, I got a Master Angler Award for this one. Where's that medal at? Is it over there on the?
I don't think so.
Or have I got it in here? Yeah, right here. Yeah, this one here, I got a Master Angler Award for this one, and I'll kind of hold up this medal here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I got that. There it is here. Yeah, you can see it on there. I got that medal for that one. Okay, put that back in there. Fine and dandy. I'm gonna get this one mounted. We caught 6 of these guys like this, and I ate.
Mine was pretty cool.
I ate 4 of them, and I was almost tempted to eat this one many times, but this one's getting mounted. And that's it for that one.
And we're going out ice fishing this winter.
Yeah.
Back up there.
Back up there again.
And I'm gonna catch myself a bass.
Now you bought yourself a brand new fishing rod last year. Could I have a look at that and we show these people this? What kind of a rod is this?
That's a Zebco.
It's a Zebco sizzle stick. It's called.
Sizzle stick. Yeah.
That's a beautiful rod, eh?
It's fiberglass. You can bend that.
Yeah, you can bend it. It's a nice rod.
It's got nice
fiberglass,
action, but I've had my troubles with it.
Two-piece jobby. And what kind of a reel you got? A Zebco 33 on there, haven't you?
Zebco
33.
Yep.
Yep.
Zebco
Did you catch very many fish with this, or? I think
caught a few. I caught that rainbow trout.
I know you caught that, but
we were up in the white shell.
It's a beautiful rod. Jeez,
we were up in the white shell.
I hope you have better luck with it next year.
Put
that over there. Let me show you the rod that I caught my fish on. This one over here is also.
You had it for about 10, 15 years.
Yeah, this is a Daiwa, this reel. And I've been fishing with this rod and reel for almost 15 years. And in fact, I was out to see my dad out in BC. This is also a fiberglass jolly. I was out to see my dad in BC 3 or 4 years back, and I kind of left this out there. And my dad, when he come to see me there a while back, see if we can catch Patrick over here. And he brought this rod back to me. And would you believe, Dad, that this is the rod that I caught that big rainbow on? In fact, I caught 4 of those on this. But,
why don't you tell them about the story that we're out lake trout fishing?
Oh, that's another story too. I'm gonna tell that. But I'm gonna tell this little story. Anyway, it's very plain to be seen that we were into a nice lake fishing these rainbows, and we were there fishing there one day. We went back there a couple times. Chris is gonna roll us a smoke. We went back there a couple times, and we always caught fish, eh? This one there, that big one that I showed you there, I caught 2 Master Angler Awards. In fact, on the tape here somewhere, I showed both of those, but there actually was quite a few people fishing in that lake.
But they
during,
had boats.
They had boats, yeah. We didn't have no boat.
We were offshore. And we found
yeah, there was only once we had the boat with us. And, yeah, there was once that we did have the boat with us. That's when we took George's truck and boat, and we all went up.
Shelley's boyfriend's boat. That's one.
And well, no, Shelley, Mark had his boat one day. They never caught nothing.
No, Bill had a few bites.
Mark, Dad knows Shelley's husband, Mark. He decided he'd take his boat up there one day when they didn't catch. Nobody caught nothing. They had a couple bites. Billy lost a few out of the boat and all this and that, and that was okay.
Well, we should have stayed on shore.
Yeah, we stayed on shore. But we went back up there. There was Gloria and I and Chris, Patrick and Billy, and I took George's truck and camper, and we drove up there. It's 60 miles from the fall, and we went in there.
We stayed up at Rocky Lake.
Yeah, we stayed at Rocky Lake a couple nights there, and kids
had
caught lots
fun.
of pickerel and lots of
Jackfish.
jackfish. They had a ball up there. It was wonderful.
Caught
Then I decided that I wanted to go back after these rainbows again. You got a light on you?
Yep.
So I said, okay, Gloria, we're going back into Chocolate Lake. It was afternoon. It was about noon. We're going back into Chocolate Lake, and so we went in and got up there, and the mosquitoes were pretty bad. We got up there and we fished and fished and fished. Nobody was catching anything, but there was lots of people there with boats coming and going. So we were there fishing offshore, right in front of the boat launch there, and there was these 2 older guys. Remember that? Those 2 older guys came in with a boat, and they backed their boat in there, and they went out fishing, and they were gone for about half an hour or something. And they come back, and they had about 5, eh?
Yeah, 5 small trout.
Yeah, they weren't real small. I mean, we're talking about 16, 17 inches, eh?
Yeah.
I think one of them was around probably the smallest one weighed 2 pounds, eh? And these are beautiful rainbows. So they had 4 of these guys. So they come in and we asked them, did you catch anything? And they said, yeah, we got
about
4 of them, and they showed them to us. And so they went back out again. They came in for lunch. They ate lunch, and they went back out again. And those 4 trout that they caught, they took them with them. They left. And they were gone for about 3 hours. And we were still fishing offshore. Still didn't catch anything. We still didn't have anything, did we? Never had nothing. They weren't biting. Those rainbows, they are real tricky.
Fussy.
They're fussy. They either bite or they don't. Well, when they bite, you got to be ready for them. So these same 2 old guys came back. And would you believe, when they came back, we asked them, did you catch anything else? And they said, yeah, we got one more. And they showed it to us. And I said, oh, that's nice, so now you got 5. They said, no, we only got 1. Remember that? And I looked at Chris and I said, this don't make sense. When they left, they had 4, and they caught 1 more. That would make 5. So they shouldn't have 1, they should have 5. So we asked them, so what the hell, did you eat the other fish that you had? They said, no. No, they said, we went, yeah, they went for a shore lunch. Yeah, and they said they went for a shore lunch and they left those 4 fish hanging in the boat. And would you believe, when they came back, all that was left, all they found was bones, a few bones of those 4 fish, a mink. While they were having their shore lunch on shore, a mink was having his shore lunch right on the end of their boat, and he ate all 4 trout. Didn't it? Oh, when they came back, all they had was the 1 fish. And so it's not a very funny thing to laugh at that, but they didn't. All they had for their day's fishing was 1 fish. And they actually caught 5, but the mink ate 4 of them. While they were having their shore lunch, a mink was having his shore lunch. And it was a shore lunch because those fish were just hanging right off that guy's boat. So, anyway. Is it on pause? Chris is trying to put this on pause, but if it's not on pause...
Hit pause. Hit that
yeah, we're going to pause this for a minute. And we're going to come back. We're going to tell you what else happened. You're going to really enjoy the rest of this story.
Pause?
Go have a look at it. See if it is on pause.
That on the screen. Hold on.
This is going to be a nice story.
No.
I can see you moving your...
Hit the red button.
Which one?
The one on the camera.
There's only one red button.
The record button?
Yeah, push it. Turn back again. It's taping again now. Okay, Patrick, you walk off to the left. Patrick's operating the camera there a little bit. Yeah, this is New Year's Day, and we're talking about our fishing trip that we had up in Nepal last summer, which was quite successful.
Yeah.
So, what happened was we left Chocolate Lake and went back to the pond. I fiddled around with some of George's motors, got a couple of them going for him.
Oh, yeah.
We decided, yeah, that one that Scott Atwater, yeah. Oh, I had it working like a charm, but it wasn't cooling. It's getting hot. It wasn't pushing no water. No water coming out where it's supposed to come out.
Well, we got that working though.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, what we decided to do, George said, take the truck and the boat and the motor and go fishing for a week. So I said, yeah, okay, so we will. So we did. We packed her all up and we headed back up towards Chocolate Lake again. Yeah. But we didn't go in the Chocolate Lake right away. We went into Rocky Lake, a place called Rocky Lake, where there's supposed to be lots of jackfish and pickerel and all this. No trout, but jackfish and pickerel. So we thought, well, kids would have a good time there. So we went in there, and oh my goodness, the kids were catching fish like you wouldn't believe, weren't they? You were too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was unbelievable. You and Billy walked around that day there.
500 yards from where we were camped out. Yeah.
Well, were you using this rod? You were using this rod right here, weren't you? Yeah, that one there. Did you actually catch a fish on this?
Yeah, I caught that trout on that one.
That's a nice rod. You paid a lot of money for that. You must have paid about $100 for that whole outfit there.
Almost.
Yeah, that's a nice rod. But when he gets back to rods again, this rod here, like I say, I've had it for 15 years, and the line on it is still the original line. Every fish that I've caught in the last 15 years was caught in this. In fact, that big jackfish that's
Who
setting
you
up in
trying
that
to fool?
wall up there was caught on this too.
I do not think so.
Anyway, I just want to show you another rod that I got here. This jobby here is an ambassador reel. I don't have to tell anybody that knows anything about fishing about ambassador reels. They're definitely good reels. And this is a trolling rod. It's a breakdown rod too. You can take it apart here. But we decided to go out on Clearwater Lake trolling for lake trout. Lake trout, and then this is a dandy for lake trout. The lake trout, your smallest lake trout in that Clearwater Lake will run around 5-6 pounds. So you got to have a pretty good rod. So I took this rod out. We went out about. It was in the summertime. It was in. Well, it was around the 1st of July, and you got to go out pretty far on the lake because when it gets warmer, the trout they go down deeper. You get down around 80 feet of water.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but they stay about 15 feet.
Yeah, they stay about 15 feet. Yeah. Got out there and I lost about 5 or 6 of them. I wasn't used to that type of fishing.
You had about 10 deadheads, lead heads.
Well, you remember? Do you remember that? You remember that one? That one that I had on and that lake trout, and it must have been run around 10-15 pounds.
Yep.
And you couldn't dip it quite good with the dip net there when you tried to land it, and you lost it on me. Eh? Remember that?
Hmm? Yeah, well, we had about. You had about 10-15 lead heads on there.
Yeah, well, that last time, yeah. Because
And
we
you
said,
finally
well,
caught
okay,
one,
we're
yeah.
going to take one more crack at it. And I said, well, if we're going to take one more crack at it, I'm going to put 10-15 lead heads on, and I'm going to put a minnow on each one. So I had a long leader, a 12-foot leader of wire line, and I with 10 lead heads on it and a minnow on each one. And I got 350 yards of line on this ambassador reel right here. I had 350 yards of line. I let it all out, all of it. You can see the line that's on there. I let the whole works out, and there was 15 lead heads on there with a minnow on each one, and something was bound to happen, and it did. It did.
You only caught about 3-4.
It only weighed about 4 pounds, 3-4 pounds, but I got one. Nice lake trout, and I ate that bugger as soon as I got home. I haven't got no pictures of it or anything. So a couple days later, we decided we'd go back in the Chocolate Lake. So we went in the Chocolate Lake. Mom over here, we had the camper and everything, and she was tired. I said, well, you sleep, go for a sleep in the camper, and I'll take the kids, and we'll go down and go fishing down by the shore there and see what happened. So we went down there and fished and fished and fished, and nothing happened, nothing happened. I had this rod with me. See? We're back to this little jobby here again. It's a beautiful little rod. It's a Daiwa reel. Like I say, I've had it for 15 years. I'll put that back again. That's the one I had with me. And, well, we never had no bites, nothing happening at all, no bites. And then Mom was up in the camper for a nice little sleep. I don't know what Chris was doing. Usually he's chasing women, but there's no women around there at all. So, and he can't fish, so he's not fishing. So.
What do you mean I can't fish?
Yeah, you got a little piece of luck. But anyway, I thought to myself, well, these buggers, they were all these trout that we were catching. We caught them on real minnows with a bobber and all this and that fiddling around. So I remembered a little trick that my dad told me one time. And he told me, he said, if you're into a place where there's rainbows and they're not biting and you're wondering what kind of bait to use a repella, because they find it these trout, rainbow trout, find it very difficult or hard to refuse a repella. Now, I never had no repella with me, but I thought to myself, I was thinking to myself, these trout are biting on real minnows. What about if I had an artificial minnow? I wonder what they would do to those. So, I looked in this tackle box, and there was no repellers in there, but there was a number 10 MEPS lure, a spinner on it, and a rubber minnow on the end of it. So I thought to myself, I'm going to hook that on that old trusty rod of mine. And I walked down through the woods, and I found a spot where I could look out on the lake, and I could see real deep water, and there was a drop-off. So I thought, I'm going to cast that miniature minnow out there, that rubber minnow. I took one cast, reeled it in, with this rod here.
Oh no, don't catch me.
Looks like I'm getting line all over the place now. But this is the rod I had, this one here. And I casted it out. And the third time that I took a cast, that great big bugger blommed right onto that rubber minnow I had on there.
You jumped
And
into
I
the
couldn't
water.
believe it. I couldn't believe it. There was these guys that were launching a boat from the States, probably
With the fishing
millionaires.
show.
Hey?
They were with the fishing show.
Yeah, they were
going,
with the
I'm
fishing.
going. I go, did you see that fish my dad caught about a couple minutes ago? It weighed about 8 pounds. He goes, no, but you ought to see the fish we're going to come back with.
Yeah, because they had radar and sonar
Yeah.
and everything else. They had a motorhome. The motorhome was so goddamn long. It was on when they were backing that motorhome into that fishing area. I didn't think they were ever going to stop backing her up because that sucker was about 45 feet long, that motorhome. And they had a boat on the end of it that you wouldn't believe.
And they wouldn't believe that, the size of the fish.
And they had sonar and radar and fish detectors.
And I go, you see my dad caught that fish just off the shore?
Yeah.
They go, well, you ought to see the fish we're going to come back with.
Yeah,
They came back
while
with,
they were backing her up, that's when I had that trout on. Well, this one right here. I'll show it to you again. When I had this one on, this nice rainbow here. I'll have that hanging on my wall pretty soon. But I had this one on, and I couldn't believe it. I was in, like I say, that lake is very hard to fish. There's woods, and there's no place to land the fish. I never even had a net. But when I cast that rubber lure in there, and he came onto that, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. All hell broke loose. There's no other way of putting it. I had my old laid-back fishing hat on, and I don't know where he was. I don't know if he seen her or not. But there was a lot. There were about 15 people standing on the shore, and
nobody had a net.
Nobody had a net. That sucker, he jumped.
You got a net from my dad?
He jumped out of the water about 15 feet in the air, and he did about 10 cartwheels. And I thought, oh, I'm never going to get that bugger in. And then, just when I thought that I had him beat,
you did about another 6 somersaults.
I had him pretty close to shore. And I was just ready to grab him by the tail. And then he took off again. He took off running. And I let him have, and then I thought to myself, I'm never going to get this fish in unless I jump in that lake. So I jumped in the lake, and I was up to my waist in water. It was a deep place where I was. I was up to my waist in water. I finished fighting that bugger up to my waist in water, and he jumped. Good thing I had him hooked good, because it went on for another 15 minutes, and I couldn't believe it. Finally, I brought him up. He came up to the top of the water, and I seen him. I never grabbed him by the tail. I just grabbed him right by the head, right by the gills, and I didn't care if my fishing rod dropped in the water. I just pulled him up, and I walked right out of the water, soaking wet, and I walked up, and I said, "Did you see that guy jump?" And there was about 10 people. Yeah, we sure did. You seen it too, eh? I never seen a fish jump like that in my life.
And the thing
This
is,
one
out
right
in
here.
Manitoba,
This one
out
right
here.
here. He jumped at least 4 or 5 times, about 15 feet in the air. I couldn't believe it.
out here in
Charlie,
Manitoba,
Charlie,
we have a-
there it is. There, my brother Charlie, he loves fishing, and there's I'm getting this one mounted. I caught 4 of them.
we'll catch
We caught 6 altogether, and I caught 4 of them.
We'll fix another couple pictures. But out here in Manitoba, we got this new fishing bylaws and stuff like that. That you gotta fish barbless hooks, which makes it a little bit harder to catch the fish
Yeah, but we
and
did.
reel them in.
Yeah,
But if you're a true fisherman, like me and my dad,
we don't
you'll
use
know how
barbless
we
hooks.
don't we use barbless hooks.
Yeah, we do.
'Cause you don't need
most
them.
of the time.
You don't need a barbed hook.
But when I'm
But
fishing,
Patrick and Billy, they get a little bit carried away sometimes, and they don't like cut the barbs off the hooks. Then we get in a little bit of
Yeah, a
trouble
little bit
with
of
the
trouble.
game warden.
yeah.
But that's okay because we just tell them no. We don't.
Well, do you
It's hard to keep up with the little guys, eh?
smoke with? And while you're doing that, I'm going to tell a story. Talking about these barbless hooks. One day we went down to
Lions Lake.
Lions Lake,
Well, that got me strong.
and we went down there, and Lions Lake's supposed to have rainbow trout in it, but it's got a lot of perch in it too. So we went down there, and I didn't think we'd ever catch any rainbow trout or anything that day. But I knew that the kids would have a lot of fun with these perch. So I told Chris, I said, "Listen, we'll drive into Lions Lake, it's got a little campgrounds there, and nobody was camping there. There was lots of cars there, but most of those guys, when you see those cars in there, they walk up into this other lake called Camp Lake, and there's brown trout in there or something. They're all after those trout. None of them ever catch anything anyway. But I wanted the kids to catch some perch. So I said, "Okay, Chris, me and you and Mom and the kids, we're going to park the car here, and we're going to walk down the other side of the lake. I know there's a path that's a little bit rough. We'll go down there." And so he did. We did all that and got down there. And sure enough, the perch were there. The kids caught lots of perches up. Would you believe there were some trout jumping in that lake, and I decided to get the flies in. I tied a fly on my rod, and the first cast that I took, one jumped out of the water, and I pulled the goddamn rod back, and I went to whip it out again, and that fly caught me right in the thumb. I sunk the whole hook and everything right in my thumb. And Gloria said, "That's it." She said, "The day is finished. That's going to ruin the day. You got to go to the doctor to get that out." I said, "No way." I fiddled around with it, and it hurt a
all
bit.
around the lake.
Yeah, but I got it out. I finally got it out. But then, all the time, we were there all day, and all the time we were there, we could hear somebody hollering from just across the lake. And a couple times, I was a little bit concerned about it, but then I thought, well, there must be just some people over there having a picnic or something, having a good time, so that was it. So we stayed right where we were for about 2-3 hours fishing. And then we decided that, okay, enough is enough. We'll go back to the car because it's about a 90-mile drive back to Winnipeg. So we went back to the car.
We should have been fishing barbless because
No, we
that's
should.
the
Yeah,
law.
yeah, right.
That's the law
Right.
in Winnipeg.
Yeah,
You
we
gotta
should have been
fish
fishing barbless.
in
But
Manitoba.
while we were walking back to the car, the
we saw the game warden.
yeah, the
The
game
game
warden.
warden came up to us and they go,
Yeah,
"You guys,
catching anything?
No,
I'll let
no.
Chris tell the rest of the story. It's kind of
You're
an
going.
embarrassing thing.
they go, you guys catching anything? No, not really. You guys go, okay, you guys fishing barbless." Well, yeah, I'm fishing barbless. I just lost the hook, eh? Oh, my dad's got a barbless hook on his, and he's going like, checked out my little brother Billy's fishing rod, and he's going, you're not fishing barbless? And we're going, well, it's a, well, those little sons of guns, they're hard to keep up to because...
Yeah, well, they looked at me, they said, are you fishing barbless? Can I have a drag off that there?
Yeah, they're going, you fishing barbless?
Yeah, I said, yeah, oh yeah, I'm fishing barbless. They said, can we have a look at your fishing rod? I said, yeah. I passed him my fishing rod. Of course, there was
A barbed hook on it.
Yeah, a barbed hook on there with a fly on there. And he said, well, he said, you said you were fishing barbless. He said, did you catch any fish? And I said, no. He said, well, he said, you got a barbed hook on here. And I said, those little buggers. I said, they keep using my fishing rod all the time, and I can't keep up. They're changing lures about every 5 minutes. And I said, I just can't keep up with them. They said, yeah. He said, that's what all the parents tell us when we catch them. What we're going to do is just give you a warning, and the next time use barbless hooks. I said, yeah, okay. So I told him, so okay, thanks very much for the break and everything.
And I was a little bit smarter than everybody else. I cut mine off with a fucking jackknife that I had.
But do you remember what happened after that?
Yeah,
we went. This is going to be the highlight of this story.
We went
back to the car.
We went back to the car. We got charged with that, and then the game warden left.
He left. The game warden left.
And my dad went to our favorite spot that we saw these rainbow trout jumping before.
And then this young fella comes out hollering.
Oh, yes.
Somebody needs your help. Somebody needs your help. And I said to myself, I looked at Chris and I said, what's going on here? And Chris said, well, it sounds like somebody needs our help, eh? And the guy said, this young guy, he's only about 13 years old, this guy, he said, there's a guy in there that really needs your help. And I didn't know what to think, so I said, well, okay, Chris, you start running in there with this guy and see what's going on, eh? And I'll wait right here. So Chris was gone, and this place where the guy was at wasn't very far in. It was only about a mile, not even a mile in, about 3/4 of a mile through the wood. I waited there for about 25 minutes or so, and Chris comes running out. Yeah, he said there's a guy in there, and he looks like he's dying, eh? So I took off in there. No, in fact, no, Chris didn't come out. I started going in because I was beginning to wonder what was going on. So I went in, and there was Chris holding this guy up. He was in the water. He was all covered in blood. He had a great big goose egg on the side of his head. His nose was bleeding.
He had a 2.6 or a 40 ouncer.
Yeah, there was a 40 ouncer of Southern Comfort sitting there against the side of the, and it was 3/4 gone. And this guy, he was 3/4 gone too. So what happened was,
well, we heard this guy call.
He was still in the water.
We were sitting there fishing all day.
Yeah, this horn that we heard from the other side of the lake, it turned out it was that guy hollering for help all that time. So I told Chris, I said, Jesus, he's in the water. I went down, I grabbed the hold of him. He started giving me shit, and I told him to shut up, and I pulled him out of the water, up on the rocks. And I told Chris, I said, stay there by that guy, and I'm going back out, and I'll get some help. And I went back out, got in my car, and I went down the road, and those same game wardens that gave us shit for fishing with barbed hooks, I seen them. I flashed the lights on the car, and they stopped. I drove up beside them, and I told them what was going on, and they didn't really believe me or whatever, but they said they would come back, so they came back. I took them in there. Oh, they couldn't believe it when they seen the guy. They told me, they said, will you see if you can carry this guy out, because he's been hollering for somebody's name all day, and that other guy that they've been calling for might be in trouble too. So they went looking for him, and so I carried this guy out, me and Chris here.
They didn't even want to do the work themselves.
They never found the other guy, and it turned out that the ambulance was there. They called the ambulance, RCMP, I had to stay there for another about 6 hours, and I don't know what happened. I never heard anything because after 6 hours, the police said, "Yeah, you can go," and the guy was okay. The ambulance came, and oh, he was in terrible shape. Oh my God Almighty! Took his wallet out of his back pocket. I took his wallet out when I first found him, and I gave the ambulance driver the wallet. And I don't know. I exactly don't know what the heck the guy did, but all I know is he was some drunk, and it kind of gives you a good feeling. I think kind of think he would have drowned if it wasn't for us being there, if it wasn't for that young kid finding him. Yeah, he would have drowned for sure, because he was in the water. He was laying right in the goddamn water. He couldn't even hardly hold his head up. He would have drowned for sure. But that was okay. But anyway.
We had this good trip back
Mm.
in Lions Lake.
Yeah, that was before it went.
We had this rubber dinghy once. You remember that rubber dinghy, Dad?
But some of the stuff that I got in my tackle box here, I like to keep these. These come in handy. Especially when you got those old catfish, great big catfish. Charlie's got a medal for catching a 18-pound catfish. You get one of them 18-pound catfish on you, you're out in Lockport fishing, and if you don't have a pair of these, then you may as well just kiss your lure and everything goodbye. You may as well throw the rod in too, because those catfish are, and I can't believe, you know, I've been living in Manitoba for 15 years, or 20 years I've been living in Manitoba. And I went fishing in Lockport lots of times, and I caught lots of those catfish. I hate even getting one of those buggers on the line. But would you believe that Lockport, Manitoba has become the catfish capital of the world? Americans are coming up here
Yeah, but
strictly going after catfish.
that bridge though nowadays,
Oh, yeah, no.
the government's going after.
Well, I can tell you a pretty good story about Lockport. Now, this has got nothing to do with fishing. Well, I guess it does. Gloria, my wife, her mother and father lived in Petersfield, which is on the way to Lockport.
That we caught that day.
Yeah, and Lockport happens to be Charlie. Charlie is my brother. Lockport happens to be Charlie's favorite fishing spot.
Oh,
So, the very first thing he was with us that day. We were going out to see Gloria's mom and dad. And we happened to go across the Lockport Bridge. Charlie said, "Can we go ice fishing for a while?" And I said, "Yeah, okay." So we went down, we went ice fishing. Never caught no fish. And then Charlie went away for a while, and he came back and he said, "Chipper," he said, have you got your dip net with you?" And I said, "Yeah, I got the net with me." He said, "Well," he said, "there's a duck down there. It looks like it's starving to death." I said, "A duck in February? This was in February, for Christ's sake." So Charlie said, "Bring that net over here." And he said, "Let's see if we can get that duck." He said, "That duck looked like it's starving to death." And I went down and looked, and lo and behold, there was
a little bit of.
Yeah, there was a big green-head mallard there, and it couldn't fly or anything. It was just almost helpless, eh?
Blocks.
So we went down. Charlie netted it with that net, and we went out to Petersfield, where Gloria's mom and dad lives. Yeah, out to Chris's grandfather's place, and we took that duck with us, eh? We had that duck. We showed it to him. We said, "What should we do with this duck?" And he said, "A duck?" He said, "This is February, 40 below zero weather, a green-head mallard duck." He said, "Where'd you get that?" We told him. He still didn't believe us. He said, "Get me that cardboard box that's out in the garage, eh?" So I brought a cardboard box in and gave it to him. And he put the duck in that cardboard box, and he brought out a bag of sunflower seeds. And he dumped the whole bag, not the whole bag right away, he dumped a few in there, and the duck started eating those sunflower seeds. And the sunflower seeds had shells on them. He dumped the whole bag in there, and that night, when we were sleeping in bed, you could hear that duck's beak hitting the side of that cardboard box all night long. And his grandfather had to get up and feed that duck about every hour, and he eventually dumped in the whole bag of sunflower seeds, and the next morning, all that was left in there was shells. That duck was starving to death. What did your grandfather do with that duck?
I turned it over to the Wildlife Federation.
And so but he kept it for about a week.
A week or two, yeah.
Yeah.
But then he turned it over to the Wildlife Federation.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Always good with animals.
Yeah. Yeah, here. Gloria's father, that's Chris's grandfather, him and I get along real good. My dad met him the first time that Dad come here, and we took him out there, and he got to meet Chris's grandfather, and he was a diesel mechanic all his life, with old with the big white diesel trucks.
White GMC.
Yeah.
They offered him about $45-50 an hour to go back to work for him.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't do it, no. But well, that's a pretty good fishing story, as far as I'm concerned. And I'd like to show some of the stuff that I got in this. First of all, I want to show this compass that my dad gave me.
George gave it to you.
No, not this one. This is the one that my dad gave me. My dad had this compass in Whitehorse in 1952. And my dad received that compass even before that. My dad...
What about that one that
all the years that my dad spent his years in the woods, he was never without that compass. And he gave it to me, and I treasure that with my life.
What about that one that your
Uncle George gave me? That's a mining compass.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about that stopwatch that your
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure where that stopwatch came from. Murray gave it to me and told me that my grandfather Fuller owned it, and that's why he gave it to me. But Murray's word is something else to be desired. But I'll tell you one thing about this compass. When I tell you that my dad had this compass all his life, I went fishing into lakes with my dad, into new lakes where we never knew anything about, and he found those lakes with that compass. I seen him do it lots of times. Yeah.
That's west out there.
Yeah. Well, sure it is.
Works good.
Yeah. It's a World War II compass. I don't know where Dad got it, but all I know is Dad had it all his life, and I'll tell you one thing, he treasured that compass all his life, and I feel really, really proud that he gave it to me.
Keep that.
Yep. Nobody will ever get that from me. Nobody will ever get that from me.
Oh, you saved it. Souvenir.
Now I'll show you a couple other things I got in this tackle box. This is called spawn sacks. Well, I don't have to open it up, but there it is there. I never really ever caught anything off that. Yeah, my dad. These here are called Canadian wigglers. These are really good out here for pickerel and jackfish, muskie. I never caught a big muskie, but I am going to pretty soon. And what else have we got in here? Yeah. There's that badge I got for catching that big trout. Here, I'll show you that big trout again. Look at that big bugger. There it is there, starting to thaw out. Geez, the more he starts to thaw out,
Heavier it gets.
the more I'd like to eat them. Boy, they're awful good eating. But I'm going to wrap him back up because he's going to get louder. Yeah, he's getting better. What else we got in there? Is that mine? Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Well, no, it's not yours.
Oh, here's something here. This here book here is called the Silver Doctor. This one here.
Doctors in.
That's a Silver Doctor. And you get into Clearwater Lake with something like that in the spring or the fall, and you're going to get into some good lake trout fishing. Now, there's a couple other things here. Oh, here's something. Oh my goodness. Where is that one that I wanted to show? A beauty. Real nice dandy. Where is it? Is that something here? Keep that in there. I had something here I wanted to show and kind of disappeared on me. But anyway, here. If you ever go lake trout.
Give her.
Buddy's child.